Hello everyone, Zeldarinth here, and for today's video on Umamusume, as we have just finished the Cancer Cup, it is time to look towards the next CM, that is Leo Cup. This one will be a sprint, as well as our final CM that'll happen during Track Blazer, as the next one will be going into Grand Live, so you will not have to build aces in Track Blazer past this point, as Grand Live ones will be significantly stronger. So with Leo Cup, this one is going to be a little bit unique compared to the last sprint we did. This one is being our second sprint. This one on Nakayama, and it is 1200, so the same length as the last sprint, but it is right-handed, firm, summer, and sunny. And so when we actually take a look at this track, you'll see right off the bat there is quite a few differences on it that'll kind of shape how you want to build your Uma, as well as the fact that we're building it in Track Blazer. It will kind of change how you want to approach it. Right off the bat, the first thing you'll see here, and we haven't really, I think we've had a couple tracks that we've seen this off the launch, but I don't think we've seen it where there is no straightaway until you get to the very end of the track here. So it starts right off the bat where it is neither a straight nor a corner. So none of your skills that need those conditions can activate here, which creates the unique scenario where all your straightaway skills will activate down here, as long as you pass the wit checks to activate them. There's no, so if it's a skill like front runner straightaways, if you're having a front runner or something like that, and you're wanting it to activate at the end of the race to help get you that extra speed that you need, that is something that you have unique to this. And then after you come out of this, you're basically in a corner the entire time coming through it. And when you actually enter the late race, unlike the last CM, this one will enter right on a corner instead of on a straightaway, which does make it where angling and scheming will work for your front runners here. But pretty much everybody else does not have a consistent way to accelerate on this one. So it will be similar in the same fact that we do want to you're going to take all those gamble accelerations just to try and get lucky and pop off in this corner, plus all the corner speed ones to try and get all the speed carryover that you can potentially here, as those are ultimately what can win you this race. And this is going to be very similar in how the last sprint worked, that pace chasers will probably be primarily the strongest, but there is a lot of potential to change on that. So you're going to have to take a lot of references that you see as kind of with a grain of salt, because we will be getting an update to potentially like a ton of the skills, as well as Umas and everything with this July 1st update, which we do not have all of the details yet. We expect, based on how we read it, we're going to be getting the skill updates and stuff, as we'll just have to see if that's the case, or maybe if it's a smaller variation compared to what they got on the second anniversary. So there is a lot of subject to change in terms of what will be good here. Now, one guide that I've been liking to use now when it comes to looking at every CM going into the future is the spreadsheet. This is the Carrot Calculator. If you use it from Henry Handsome, very, very good document for kind of planning everything out. And him and his group of people have put a lot of time and effort into this, kind of planning out what was the meta in all CMs going all the way up to basically the current ones here. But as you can tell right now, if the skill changes, this is very, very subject to change. Especially if we get the update for skills like on your left and head on and all those neck and neck, where it goes from, instead of being the entirety of the late race gamble, it's just the first half of the late race gamble, meaning much more likely to activate on a very good timing, which could significantly boost up your late surgers because they have like on your left and whatnot, which aren't very as strong here, but potentially could shake it up to the point to make them a little bit stronger. If we get those skill updates, we'll just have to kind of test it out, as this is something that JP did not have. We'll be kind of in unfamiliar territory with this, actually going all the way through Grand Live. But currently, as it stands right now, it's going to be Pace Chaser dominant. I mean, they already have like their gamble skills, so they have neck and neck, head on being a very important one. You could take Sayun Sky to try and get angling and scheming, as from just testing right now, a lot of people are not bringing front runners. And so if you get lucky pace, getting angling and scheming will be a significant one to try and pick up. Of course, we have Nishino Flower with her ult, or Nishino Flower herself being very strong. Taiki Shuttle in the same situation. Ugly Cap always being strong with her ult. And then she also has Corner Conagir built in, which has potential to be a gamble acceleration to get some speed carryover there. One of the big cards that you're going to want to see on the Pace Chasers being the strongest, your primary borrow is going to be Sakura Bakshin Guts, as one of the things with this one, since you're not caring about stamina at all, it's a sprint. Guts is going to be ultimately the strongest. If you think about it, all your Umas kind of coming off the line. The one or two that get lucky on accelerations or speed carryover might be right next to each other, and what ultimately can win you, what should win you the races, will be having very, very high guts, especially if your opponents go with more of a power deck side of things and they have a much lower guts. That can get you the additional speed needed to ultimately win in the long run on this. And so what Sakura Bakushin Guts actually brings is, one, it brings groundwork. Groundwork, very important, even like on your pace chasers, to try and get them in front of the pack or steal lucky pace, because front runners won't be as popular on this one. And then, of course, you have like your Admire Vega, the free card, the Yukino Bijin here, your typical wit cards. Now, we do have Throne available, but as you can kind of see here, and I'm of the same opinion. I know some people like to be able to use Throne, especially if you're like, if you have at least one copy of Sakura Bakushin Guts, because you don't really need her at MLB. She works pretty well even at Zero Limit Break from testing. You could, if you had this deck, swap in Throne. Personally, me, I don't really like Throne in going with the Sprint one. I don't really see myself using it. It'll be there to help you get the stats, but ultimately I feel like you can get more skills and ultimately a stronger build without Throne. It just won't be as consistent. You're having to gamble a lot more in the build. It just depends on the direction you want to go. But ultimately, as a pace, you definitely want Sakura Bakushin. Same thing with front runners if you'll build one of those. And then, I mean, your late surgers are kind of the same thing, except you're now coming with Bamboo Memory on them. Much weaker in this one, but we'll just have to see what comes to the skill changes on that. One that I've seen talked about too, that I might actually try and build, and you have to do this in Unity Cup if you want to do it. But being a sprint, Unity Cup could be somewhat competitive if you do this, which would be a runaway Silent Suzuka. And reason being, Guts is not going to really be as important on her, because you're not going to do a Guts build in Unity Cup. But it's not going to be important because ultimately for her to win, you don't want anyone getting close to her. I mean, she needs to get in the lead, stay in the lead, and then hit her unrestrained, because she has unrestrained built in on good timing alongside angling and scheming, and she needs to just launch and leave everybody else in the dust. And in Unity Cup, you should be able to max speed, power, and wit fairly easily on that. Now, you're going to be a little bit lower on the skill point side of things, and that's ultimately where we'll have to kind of figure out if it's even going to be possible to make a strong enough one in a run because of lack of skills. So your pace chasers or other front runners might catch up to her and ultimately kill her off. But with the skill changes, who knows what's coming? And there's another card that I don't know if they even really show it here, which would be, me personally, I'll probably bring Summer Madizensky over someone like NTR. NTR having Firm Course Menace, which would be nice to have. A lot of people didn't pull for her, myself included. So she would have to be your main borrow in this case. But something like Summer Madizensky, especially if you pull heavily on her, can work just as well. Kind of have her up just as just to kind of take a look at her. One thing is, she does have Summer Runner. Don't expect to get it very easily in Track Blazer, so you can't really count on it for that. But if you're building the Silent Suzuka Runaway, could be very good for her in Unity Cup to try and just pick up a bunch of skills for her to ultimately be able to keep herself in the lead and ultimately win. But Firm Course Man is getting good, but then you're also missing out on another really good gamble skill, which is going to be Professor of Curvature from the Kitasan Black, which could give you speed carryover, being a really strong speed corner skill. So ultimately, I think they go with the NTR because Firm Course Man not only gives you speed, but power, and power is key in this. You definitely want to try and max your power and speed and wit. It can definitely be a little bit more tricky, in my opinion, in Track Blazer with that, especially with the Guts build, because it's very high gamble. But that's pretty much going to be it there. I mean, as Zik mentioned down here on his document, that he does have the alternate options you can bring. If you don't want to go the Guts build and you just want to get a potentially strong Uma that might not be able to compete on the Guts side of things with paces, you do have the potential to borrow Guts or Power Daiwa Scarlet, that giving you neck and neck, which is a very strong gamble, especially if we get the skill update. And that might be the way I even go. I might go borrow the Power Daiwa, drop one of the Wit cards or one of the Guts cards for Power, and then I'll kind of have like a combo set up to try and get max speed, power, and wit, and decently high guts. We'll just kind of have to see. I will be making a follow-up video to this, though, once we get the skill updates, when I kind of theory craft it, and how I might want to build my Umas, depending on those changes. I really haven't really done anything on the ace side of things, other than trying to test out an Ogre cap, just because we know of those skill updates. But that's going to be pretty much it of a quick look at the Leo Cup. It's a sprint, though. No, it's a gamble. You're not going to have, like, even if you build monster Umas in the past, unless we can find something that's very consistent, probably the closest thing to it is if you can build a monster runaway Suzuka, it's just going to be gamble the whole way. Whoever gets lucky on the speed carry over in accelerations will win. Ultimately, just like the other sprint, just a little bit different since it's coming off of a corner versus a straightaway. But that's going to be pretty much it. And if you like my content, if you like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.